Hello everyone, this is Emmanuel Manolakakis, just in my backyard, and I was working on the seminar I'll be teaching you shortly, and I just wanted to send everyone a video message, first thanking you for attending my seminar, and secondly to kind of shed some light on some very interesting topics that could be covered in the seminar. A lot depends on your participation, on your effort, on your own understanding. So I wanted to send a message before the seminar even begins, rather than wait for that day. So please listen to this video recording and kind of reflect on the things I'm going to say and bring those reflections with you to the seminar. As well, I'm going to be forwarding you all an email. You'll probably be getting it from the host, but an email with a series of questions that I'd like you to spend some time answering, reflecting on. The more detail you can put to these questions, I think the better result you're going to receive. I'm trying to see if I can change your perspective on these questions during the seminar. So please have a look at the questions that you're going to get in an email shortly. Answer them with as much detail as you can muster, and let's see how you answer those questions after the seminar. And I'm hoping that it will be different and at the same time profound and can help you down the kind of path of SYSTEMA. So with this video conference, when I was working on the seminar, just the little nuances, the technical proficiencies about what we can cover, I realized that there's always these kind of hidden topics or hidden things that a seminar teaches us. And I wanted to make sure that we all thought about them well before the seminar. So I'll give you some ideas. Try to see SYSTEMA, because people always ask me, how to see SYSTEMA, and it's always like how to see life, and sometimes your perspective is the most important thing to get right. And the best way I've been able to explain SYSTEMA to people is that SYSTEMA is a wonderful, not necessarily martial art, it is a martial art, but it's a wonderful operating system. And what I mean by operating system is it does many things well. You can plug in any kind of program and get a lot out of it. There's the SYSTEMA of life, the SYSTEMA of relationships, there's the SYSTEMA of school, of math, of jiu-jitsu, of taekwondo, whatever you're studying. SYSTEMA has this ability to just make it perform much better. So I see it more like an operating system rather than a program that you plug in. So think about that a little bit. A lot of people purchase certain technical devices because of the operating system. It's just a good operating system makes the whole thing work much better. So try to see SYSTEMA that way. That's one that I'll leave you with. The second is this idea of relaxation. A lot of people see this concept of, well, I need to relax, but they don't reflect on, or they don't truly understand that relaxation is much more powerful than force. So kind of a sidebar to the seminar as I'm teaching it will be that we all come to this understanding that relaxation is much more powerful than force. And we're going to try to see if we can bring that to a bigger reality rather than just a statement that we say, yeah, it's true, but that we actually fully accept this. Because from what I notice, people believe relaxation, but then when they're stuck somewhere, they rely on force, and that becomes the dilemma that we have. So I'm going to try, hopefully show everyone some ways to work through things where we let relaxation lead the way. So that's one. The other thing is, I noticed over the years that a lot of people have a tremendous amount of knowledge about SYSTEMA. And that's great. It's amazing to have this knowledge. And it's in your head, and most people leave it there. But what I hope during the course of the seminar is that whatever knowledge is in your head starts to actually migrate down towards your heart. And when, from my experience, when things are in your head, it's a level of proficiency. But as you train and as you relax, the knowledge goes from your head and starts to travel into your heart, where you almost teach your heart how to think. And it's quite profound when this happens. Try to imagine a musician playing a guitar, and he studies it technically, and he knows it in his head, the chords and the strums, And then at some point, if he wants to make a song, it has to leave his head and go into his heart, at least to make a good song. He can, so if we can, take the knowledge we have of Systema and all the things that we know and relax ourselves and let everything come into our heart and sing, I think we're going to find something quite interesting. And I'm hoping that that also accomplishes in the seminar. The other thing that I'm looking at is the concept of motivation. And this is very powerful. I'm just going to leave it like that. In many professional views, motivation is the single most important thing any athlete can do, no matter what sport they decide to train, is that how they train consistently motivates them, so that the next day you want to do it again and again and again. So it really comes down to a person finding the way that they like to do it. And this applies not just to physical fitness, it comes to everything you do in life. Most important thing you can do is make sure that what you do, you love to do it the next day. But I see some people training in such a way that they don't like to do it the next day, or that they don't really want to do it the next day. They kind of want to do it. So motivation is in many people's eyes the most important thing you can do to get right. So I'm hoping that I can show everybody how to find your own way to motivate yourself to keep training in Systema. The other thing, just looking at some of my notes here, because there's so much on my head, it's hard to remember everything as I get older. The other thing is being able to measure your effort. In many cases, you watch some of the great masters in Systema, and they look like they're using practically no effort, and that's the case. They actually understand how much effort they're putting into something, and creating a measure to your effort, and then knowing it, and then being able to apply that effort in what you're doing in training is a remarkable skill of mastery. And it's something that you don't need X amount of years before you can do. You can do it right now. You just need to create a measure to your effort. And when you create the measure to your effort, understand it and be able to apply it. So another thing during the seminar that I'd like to work on is helping everybody create a measure of their effort. For myself, I try never to bridge over 50% of my effort. So I try to make 100% of my 50%, if I could leave it like that. So most people work with all their effort but not very efficiently. I want to show you how to all operate at 50% effort, but 100% of your 50%. And it's hard to explain this now, but you need to know how to make more with half of everything you do. It's not a coincidence when you see Michael or Vladimir or any of the great teachers, Constantine. When you watch these people work, they don't look like they're using a lot of effort. They're not. They've trained themselves to work with less effort. And I want to show you guys how to do that as well, because the less effort allows you to understand more. When you're working at max effort, it's hard to understand anything. But at 50%, understanding is quite good, and you make more with your 50%. So I'll leave it like that, and hopefully I can elaborate more in person, but at least leaving you with this thought is good. And the last thing is, during the seminar, I hope that my way I teach Systema is that all of you become kind of mini scientists. That when you're training, that it's you develop or start to cultivate the scientist mentality of everything you do has a result, but you don't know how it fits in yet. So a scientist does an experiment and he gets a result and he writes it down. He does another experiment, he writes it down. And he's constantly trying to connect dots, saying, that's interesting, that's interesting. When we train, we need to do more of this. Be more scientists with our bodies. How does the exercise relate to the drills? How does the drill relate to my ability? And try and make these connections. And when you make the connections, you'll start to see some similarities happening. And don't make a judgment. Don't make an assessment. Just say, that's interesting. A lot of scientists do this. They find something, they go, that's interesting. And they just collect these. And over a period of time, they can start to make an assumption. And, I remember reading this medical journal. And the guy spent 5 to 10 years. I can't remember the exact number, 5 to 10 years, but a long time. But I remember the time was very similar to what people would get black belts or, into martial arts, that old 5 years and you get a black belt thing. And spent 8 to 10 hours a day getting a lot of money from the Canadian government to do this research. And at the end of the research, he published a huge paper, over 1,000 pages of his findings. And then the last page was the most interesting to me. The last page was, it said, you know, he made a lot of assumptions, and then at the end, you thought there was going to be this fabulous conclusion. But at the end, it was like, at the end of all these years and all this money and all this time and all this research, I conclude that more research is needed. I always thought that was hilarious, because how many people train in martial arts and after the same period of time think that they figured it out? And this scientist ended with more research is needed. And I think that we all need to have that mentality that research is constantly needed, even after we've put X amount of time. So I love that mentality of, like, we always need to be researching and looking for answers and conclusions that could possibly be. So I hope these kind of statements and ideas will permeate deeper for you while I teach, and that you can see them intertwined in the technical proficiencies and in the demonstrations that I show. I will say bye now. There's a lot for you to think about, and I look forward to meeting all of you during the seminar. As I said, you'll be receiving my email shortly, and I hope you put a lot of detail in those answers. And please feel free to ask as many questions as you like during the seminar while I'm there, and I'll see you all very soon. Goodbye.